You open your eyes to heat, not warm, not hot. Heat that feels like someone pressed a burning clay pot against your face. It is 1800 BCE. You are in Babylon, and the first thing you notice is the smell. A heavy, sticky blend of animal dung, sweat, stale beer, dead fish, and incense attempting, and failing, to fix it all. The second thing you notice, your mouth is already dry. Your throat feels like it's been lined with sand. Welcome to Babylon, the shining jewel of Mesopotamia, a city of gold, gods, and greatness, but also a city where you wouldn't survive 24 hours, not even close. Today, you're going to live one simple day here. You're going to feel everything. The heat, the filth, the pressure, the fear, the chaos, the rituals, the gods, the judgment, the dangers. And as the hours pass, you will realize something. Your modern body, your modern lungs, your modern mind, they are nowhere near ready for ancient Babylon. So take a deep breath. Actually, don't. You'll regret it. Your day begins. Chapter 1. Waking up in Babylon. The worst wake-up of your life. You wake up in a mud brick house. Your bed is a woven reed mat, placed on a hard clay floor with bugs crawling in the cracks. The temperature inside your home is already 38 degrees. And it's only the morning. Your pillow, a small leather sack filled with reeds that poke your ear every time you move. Your back hurts. Your neck hurts. Your hips feel bruised. There is no fan, no breeze, no comfort, just still, unmoving, suffocating heat. You sit up and instantly regret it. Your head spins. Dehydration has already started, and you haven't even walked outside yet. The architecture of suffering. Let me paint you a fuller picture of this mud brick nightmare you're calling home. The walls are thick, about 2 feet of compressed mud and straw. They're supposed to keep the house cool. They don't. They trap yesterday's heat and slowly release it all night long, turning your bedroom into a clay oven. The ceiling is low, maybe 7 feet. If you're tall, you'll be ducking constantly. Wooden beams span across, covered with more reeds and mud. Sometimes scorpions live up there. Sometimes they fall. Let me tell you about scorpions in Babylon. They're everywhere. Fat-tailed scorpions. Arabian fat-tailed scorpions. Their venom can kill children and the elderly. Even healthy adults get violently ill. You learn to shake out your sandals before putting them on. You learn to check your sleeping mat before lying down. You learn to sleep lightly, always half aware of movement near your face. The Babylonians believed scorpions were servants of Ishtar, the goddess of love and war. Killing one was considered bad luck, so most people just lived with them. There are no windows. Well, there are small openings near the ceiling for ventilation, but they're tiny, maybe 6 inches across. They let in light, hot air, and occasionally birds, but never a breeze when you need it. The floor beneath you isn't level. Clay hardens unevenly. There are dips and rises, and in some spots, cracks wide enough to lose a finger in. And in those cracks, that's where the insects live. Beetles, decate, topsheet, centipedes, dort cornell. Spiders you've never seen before and hope to never see again. You can hear them at night, scratching, moving, existing way too close to your face. Some beetles are considered sacred. The dung beetle, for instance, represents Khepri, though that's more Egyptian than Babylonian. Still, the reverence for certain insects crosses cultures here. But most insects, they're just pests, and there's nothing you can do about them. Your morning routine, if you can call it that, you try to stand up. Your knees crack. Your feet touch the warm clay floor, and immediately you feel grit, dust, maybe a dead bug. You try not to think about it. There's a clay jug in the corner, your water supply for washing. Except it's warm, always warm. You splash some on your face. It doesn't refresh you. It just makes you wet and uncomfortable. The water came from the Euphrates. Someone in your household walked to the river yesterday, filled several jugs, and carried them back. Heavy, back-breaking work, usually done by women or slaves. That water is now sitting in an unglazed clay pot, slowly evaporating, collecting dust, probably growing things you can't see. But it's what you've got. You have no mirror. You have no concept of what you look like right now. And honestly, that might be a blessing. Your hair is matted with sweat. Your skin is covered in a thin layer of dust that accumulated while you slept. Your breath smells like yesterday's beer and onion. There is no toothbrush, no toothpaste, no mouthwash. Some wealthy Babylonians chew on aromatic twigs to freshen their breath. You are not wealthy. You just deal with it. Your clothes, if you can call them that, are a simple linen tunic. It's beige, or it used to be. Now it's more of a brownish gray from dust, sweat, and every other substance you've encountered in this city. Linen is the fabric of choice here. It's light. It breathes. It's relatively cool, or as cool as anything can be in 40-degree heat. The wealthy wear finer linen, sometimes dyed with expensive colors. Purple from Phoenician snails, blue from indigo, red from madder root. Your tunic? Plain, undyed, scratchy. You pull it on. It sticks to your skin immediately. You step toward the door. The sunlight hits you like a physical force. You squint. Your eyes water. You take one step outside, and the heat wraps around you like a suffocating blanket made of fire. A donkey screams somewhere in the distance. A child is crying. Merchants are yelling. The river smells like a sewer. The street is already alive with activity. Women are carrying water jugs. Men are loading donkeys with goods for the market. Children are playing in the dirt, throwing stones at each other. A neighbor walks past. He nods at you. You nod back. This is the extent of your social interaction at 6 a.m. Congratulations. You survived 5 minutes. Only 23 hours and 55 minutes left. The household dynamics. Let me tell you who else lives in your house. If you're lucky, it's just your immediate family. A spouse, maybe a couple of children, possibly an elderly parent. If you're unlucky, it's 10 people crammed into a space designed for 5. Extended families live together. There's no concept of moving out when you turn 18. You stay until you marry. And even then you might just bring your spouse home. Privacy doesn't exist. Everyone sees everything. Everyone hears everything. Everyone knows everyone's business. That argument you had with your spouse last night, your neighbor heard it. Your children heard it. The family next door heard it. That embarrassing stomach problem you're having. Everyone knows. There are no secrets in ancient Babylon. Rooms are divided by curtains or partial walls, but sound travels through mud brick like it's paper. And the homes are small. The average house is maybe 100 square meters. That's about 1,000 square feet for multiple people. You learn to coexist. You learn to ignore things. You learn to give people space, even when there's no physical space to give. The morning hierarchy. In a Babylonian household, everyone has a role. The father is the head. He makes decisions about money, property, and family matters. His word is law, literally. Under Hammurabi's code, the father has legal authority over his children until they marry. The mother manages the household. She organizes food preparation, water collection, cleaning, weaving, and childcare. If you think this sounds like a full-time job, you're right. It's multiple full-time jobs. Children work. There's no childhood as we understand it. By age 7, kids are helping with chores. By age 10, they're learning their future trade. By age 14, they're working adults. If your family owns slaves, they do the hardest labor: hauling water, grinding grain, cleaning, construction. Slavery in Babylon isn't race-based, it's debt-based. If you can't pay your debts, you or your children become slaves until the debt is worked off. It's brutal. It's unfair. It's normal. The morning prayer. Before you start your day, you pray. Not because you're particularly devout, because everyone does. Because not praying is dangerous. You face the household shrine, a small clay altar in the corner with figurines of protective deities. You mutter a quick prayer to your family's patron god. Maybe Shamash, the sun god. Maybe Ishtar. Maybe a lesser deity specific to your profession. You ask for protection, for prosperity, for the gods to ignore you, basically. Because in Babylonian religion, divine attention is usually bad news. You pour a small libation, a few drops of beer, onto the altar. Done. You're covered for the day. Probably. Chapter 2. Water. Babylon's biggest trap. The thirst that won't quit. You are thirsty, like painfully thirsty. Your tongue feels swollen. Your lips are cracked. Your body is screaming for water. But here's the thing. You can't drink the water. Not unless you want parasites, cholera, dysentery, fever, vomiting, and a 60% chance of dying before the next sunrise. The Euphrates looks refreshing, until you notice people washing their clothes in it, and butchers dumping blood in it, and children bathing in it, and priests tossing offerings into it, and animals drinking from it, and people urinating upstream, and sewage flowing into it from the city's drainage channels. The water isn't blue. It's brownish green, and it moves slowly, which means everything just sits there, festering. The river has life and death. The Euphrates is everything to Babylon. It provides water for drinking, sort of irrigation for crops, transportation for goods, fish for eating, and clay for building. Without the Euphrates, Babylon doesn't exist. The river flows from the mountains of modern-day Turkey, winds through Mesopotamia, and eventually joins the Tigris before emptying into the Persian Gulf. It's ancient, it's powerful, it's sacred, but it's also a cesspool. Here's what happens upstream before the water reaches Babylon. Farmers irrigate their fields, washing fertilizer, animal dung, into the river. Villagers dump their waste directly into the water. Tanneries soak animal hides in the river, releasing chemicals and rotting flesh. Dye workshops release toxic substances used for coloring fabrics. Dead animals wash downstream when floods happen. And occasionally, human bodies, executed criminals, war casualties, or simply the poor who couldn't afford proper burial. By the time the Euphrates reaches Babylon, it's carrying bacteria, parasites, heavy metals, decomposing organic matter, and diseases that won't have names for another 3,000 years. The waterborne killers. Let me tell you what's living in that water. Giardia lamblia causes severe diarrhea, cramps, and dehydration. You'll spend days running to the bathroom, or hole in the ground, every 20 minutes. Entamoeba histolytica causes amoebic dysentery, bloody diarrhea, fever, liver abscesses, death in severe cases, schistosoma, a parasitic worm that enters through your skin when you wade in the river. It lives in your blood vessels and slowly destroys your organs. Cholera, the big killer, causes such severe diarrhea that you can die of dehydration within hours. Your body expels water faster than you can replace it. Typhoid fever causes high fever, headaches, and intestinal problems. Kills about 20% of untreated cases, and dozens of other parasites, bacteria, and pathogens. The Babylonians don't know about any of this. They don't know about bacteria. They don't know about parasites. They just know that people who drink river water often get sick. And they've developed a solution, the beer solution, and why it's also a problem. So you drink beer, not cold beer, not tasty beer, not filtered beer. Babylonian beer was thick, cloudy, sour, chunky, full of sediment, served warm, and often crawling with insects. Here's how they made it. Barley was partially baked into loaves called bapia, a bread-like substance that was essentially malted grain. These loaves were then crumbled into large clay jars filled with water and left to ferment for several days. Sometimes they added dates for sweetness and extra fermentable sugars. Sometimes they added honey. Sometimes they just left it plain. The fermentation process was natural. Wild yeast in the air did the work. No one understood why it worked. The gods made it happen. That was the explanation. The result was less like a beverage and more like liquid bread, with an alcohol content of about 3–4%, low enough that you could drink it all day without getting drunk, high enough to kill most waterborne pathogens. The alcohol, combined with the fermentation process, made beer safer than water. Not safe. Why? Safer. Yeah. It had the consistency of a thin porridge. Chunks of grain floated in it. The taste was sour, yeasty, and slightly sweet if dates were added. And here's the kicker. You don't just gulp it down. You sip it through a straw. The sacred straw. A long reed straw, about 2 feet long, inserted into a large clay jar. The bottom of the straw had a filter, a small clay or metal strainer that kept the chunks from clogging the straw. You watch a woman across the street doing exactly this. She's crouched next to a beer jar, straw in mouth, face expressionless. She's been doing this her whole life. This is so common that ancient Sumerian cylinder seals, carved stone stamps used as signatures, often depict people drinking beer through straws. It's a cultural icon, like coffee cups for modern Americans. You try it. The first sip is awful, sour, yeasty, warm very well, right now, also grainy, slightly fizzy in the worst way possible. You gag. You almost spit it out. But you're so thirsty. So you keep drinking. Your stomach turns. You feel bloated. Your head starts to feel light. Not drunk. Just off. dehydrated and overhydrated at the same time. The carbonation from fermentation makes you burp loudly. No one cares. Everyone does it. And here's the worst part. This is breakfast. This is your morning coffee, your orange juice, your hydration strategy for the entire day. Welcome to ancient wellness, the water hierarchy. If you think everyone drinks the same quality of beer, think again. The rich, they get the good stuff. Beer made with honey, filtered multiple times, served in beautiful clay vessels with intricate designs. Some wealthy families even have servants who specialize in brewing. These brewers are highly valued. A good brewer can make or break a household's reputation. The middle class, decent beer. Known, ligeros, drinkable, made fresh-ish. You get whatever's been sitting in a communal jug for 2 days, passed around by a dozen hands, possibly containing backwash from a stranger who might have a disease you don't even have a name for yet. And you'll drink it with gratitude, because the alternative is death. The economics of beer. Beer isn't just a drink in Babylon. It's currency. Workers are often paid in beer rations. A laborer might receive 2-3 liters per day. A supervisor might get 4-5 liters. Temples brew massive quantities. They employ dozens of brewers. The beer is used for offerings to gods, payment to workers, and trade. Taverns are everywhere, mostly run by women. Yes, women. Tavern keeping is one of the few businesses where women can be independent operators. These taverns are social hubs. Men gather to drink, gamble, make deals, and gossip. But tavern owners have to be careful. Under Hammurabi's code, if a tavern owner waters down the beer or overcharges, the punishment is drowning. Yes, death. For bad beer. This tells you how seriously Babylonians take their beer. The daily consumption. You will drink approximately 3-4 liters of beer today. That's about a gallon. You have no choice. You need the hydration. You need the calories. Beer is surprisingly calorie-dense because of all that grain. By midday, you'll be slightly buzzed. Not drunk, just fuzzy around the edges. Everyone is, all the time. Welcome to life in ancient Mesopotamia, where the entire population operates in a state of mild, constant intoxication. The consequences. All this beer has consequences. Your stomach is constantly upset. Gas, bloating, frequent bathroom trips. Your teeth rot faster. The sugars and acids erode enamel. Dental problems are epidemic. Your liver works overtime. Most Babylonians have some degree of liver damage by age 40. And hangovers, not from drunkenness, but from the impurities, the dehydration, the constant low-level alcohol consumption. You wake up every morning feeling slightly ill. You drink more beer. You feel better, temporarily. It's a cycle, an inescapable cycle. But you survive, and survival is all that matters. Chapter 3. The outdoor bathroom. The rumble. Your stomach rumbles. Oh no. The beer is doing its job. You need a toilet. Except there is no toilet. Your options, all of them bad. Let me walk you through your choices. Option 1. The clay pot. Inside your house, there's a clay pot. It's in the corner. Everyone in your household uses it. This pot is about the size of a large bucket. It's unglazed, porous clay. It absorbs things. It gets emptied, eventually, usually into the street, sometimes into the river. The smell is permanent. No amount of washing gets rid of it. The clay has absorbed years of use. Some households have a designated night pot and a separate day pot. Others just have one pot for everything. If you're lucky, someone empties it daily. If you're unlucky, it sits for days. The pot is usually covered with a flat stone or piece of wood to contain the smell. It doesn't work. Option 2. The hole in the ground. Some homes have a small courtyard with a hole dug into the earth. You squat over it. This is slightly better than the pot, because at least the waste goes into the ground. Gravity and soil bacteria do some of the work, but there's no privacy curtain, no door. Just you, the hole, and anyone else who happens to walk by. Children wander in. Neighbors can see over the low courtyard wall. Absolutely nothing is private. The hole fills up over time. When it's full, you dig a new hole. The old hole is covered with dirt, and that's it. Your courtyard is essentially a graveyard of former toilet holes. Option 3. The river. Yes, the same river you were just warned not to drink from. People absolutely use it as a bathroom, especially at night. It's convenient. It's free. It's communal. There are no designated spots. People just go wherever. Men typically wade in waist deep. Women often use the riverbank. This is one reason why the water downstream is so contaminated. Option 4. The street. This is more common than you'd think, especially in the crowded parts of the city. People just go against a wall, in an alley, behind a market stall. There are no laws against it, no social stigma. It's just life. The city has drainage channels, open trenches that run along major streets. Rainwater, sewage, and everything else flows through them toward the river. During the dry season, these channels become stagnant, festering pools. During the rainy season, they overflow and flood the streets with, well, you can imagine. Option 5. The public facilities. In wealthier neighborhoods and near temples, there are semi-public facilities, essentially a row of holes over a channel that flows into the drainage system. These are slightly more dignified. Slightly. You sit next to other people, maybe a dozen people in a row, all doing their business simultaneously. Conversation happens. Business deals are made. This is not a quiet, private activity. The walk of shame. You decide to find a quiet corner, somewhere away from people. You walk down the street, trying to look casual. But everyone knows what you're doing. They can see it in your walk. The urgency, the discomfort, the clench. A group of children point and laugh. They think it's hilarious. An old woman shakes her head. She's seen this 1,000 times. A merchant yells something in Akkadian you don't understand. But the tone is clear. Hurry up and get out of my sight. You find a spot behind a crumbling wall. There's already evidence that others have used this spot. Recently, you squat. There's no toilet paper, obviously. That won't be invented for another 3,800 years. Instead, you use a handful of sand, a smooth stone, or your left hand and some water. This is why you never eat with your left hand in ancient Mesopotamia. Ever. The left hand is considered unclean, permanently unclean. It's for bathroom purposes only. If you're caught eating with your left hand, people will be disgusted, revolted. You'll be marked as uncivilized. Children are taught this from a young age. Right hand for eating, left hand for everything else. The cleanup. You pour water from a small jug over your left hand. The water runs off into the dirt. You wipe your hand on your tunic, or on a handful of dirt, or on a nearby wall. This is hygiene. In 1800 BCE, some wealthy people use wool scraps or linen rags for cleaning. They wash the rags later, or have slaves do it. Most people just use water in their hand. The smell. The smell around the city is a blend of human waste, animal waste, rotting vegetables, and raw sewage. It's everywhere, inescapable, woven into the fabric of daily life. You cover your nose. It doesn't help. The heat makes it worse. The sun bakes everything into a thick, humid stench that clings to your clothes, your hair, your skin. You've heard that some wealthy families burn incense constantly in their homes to mask the smell. It doesn't work. It just creates a new smell. Perfumed sewage. You finish up as fast as you can. You survive embarrassment hash one of the day. More will come. The public health crisis no one knows about. Here's the thing. Babylonians don't understand disease transmission. They don't know that fecal matter contains pathogens. They don't know that flies carry disease from waste to food. They just know that people get sick. A lot. Intestinal diseases are the leading cause of death, especially in children. Dysentery, typhoid, cholera, parasitic infections. They're all common. Infant mortality is around 40%. That means 4 out of every 10 babies die before age 5, usually from diseases related to contaminated food and water. The Babylonians attribute this to evil spirits, curses, or divine punishment. They perform rituals. They make offerings. They pray. Nothing works, because the problem isn't spiritual. It's sanitation. But they won't figure that out for 3,600 years. The daily routine. You will repeat this bathroom process 4-6 times today. The beer keeps things moving. The food is rough and fibrous. Your digestive system is constantly processing. Each time, you'll face the same choices, the same embarrassment, the same smells. It never gets easier. It never gets less humiliating. You just endure. Chapter 4. The Marketplace. Pure chaos. Sensory overload. The market is alive. No, the market is attacking your senses. You hear shouting, arguing, laughing, metal clanging, goats crying, chickens fighting, merchants screaming prices, women haggling, children begging, drums beating in the distance. You smell spices, sweat, meat, incense, fish, perfume, burning oil, fresh bread, animal dung, leather, wool, smoke. Your brain is overwhelmed. The market square is the size of several football fields. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of people are crammed into this space. Stalls are set up in rough rows, but there's no real organization, no city planning, no designated zones for different goods. Everything is everywhere, and everyone is loud. In ancient Mesopotamia, silence is suspicious. If you're not actively making noise, people think you're hiding something, or sick, or dead. So everyone yells, constantly. The crowd. You try walking normally, but every step is a fight. People bump into you, constantly. Personal space doesn't exist here. The concept hasn't been invented yet. You're shoulder to shoulder with strangers. Their sweat touches your sweat. Their breath is in your face. Their body odor becomes your body odor. A merchant grabs your sleeve, pulling you toward his stall. He's selling clay pots. You don't need a clay pot. He doesn't care. He keeps talking, gesturing wildly, quoting prices in shekels of silver. His grip is firm. You can't just walk away. That would be rude. And rudeness can escalate quickly into violence. So you politely listen for 30 seconds, then make an excuse. He finally releases you. Another merchant immediately takes his place. This one's selling fish. Dead fish. Covered in flies. He holds one up to your face. The smell hits you like a punch. You step back. Right into a goat. The goat bleats angrily and tries to bite your tunic. You feel its teeth grazing the fabric. A woman yells at you, probably the goat's owner. She's waving her arms, clearly upset. You apologize in a language she doesn't understand. She keeps yelling. You back away, slowly. She follows for a few steps, then gives up. You keep moving. The layout. Let me describe what you're walking through. The marketplace is organized loosely by trade. Potters cluster together. Metal workers group in one area. Food vendors dominate the center. Textile merchants set up near the edges. But these aren't neat, organized stalls like you'd see in a modern farmer's market. These are temporary structures. Wooden frames covered with fabric, reed mats laid on the ground, baskets piled high, goods spread across blankets. Some merchants have permanent shops, mud brick buildings with open fronts. These are the wealthy traders, the established families. Most merchants are daily vendors who pack everything up at night and return tomorrow. The stalls, wooden tables piled high with goods, some covered with cloth, or most not. Produce section, baskets of dates, the most common fruit. They're everywhere. Brown, sticky, sweet. Figs. Fresh ones are expensive. Dried ones are affordable. Onions. Huge piles of them. White onions, red onions, spring onion. Garlic cloves the size of golf balls. Lentils in clay jars. Red, green, brown varieties. Barley and wheat in large sacks. You can see mice droppings mixed in. The merchant swears they're fresh. Pomegranates, when in season, priced like jewelry. Protein section. Why? Okay. Fair how no way. Clay jars of oil. Sesame oil. Olive oil. The olive oil is imported and costs a fortune. Beer jars. Dozens of them. Different brewers. Different qualities. Different prices. Honey in sealed clay pots. Wild honey from the marshlands. Expensive but worth it. Dried fish hanging from hooks. The flies are so thick they look like a black cloud. Fresh fish in baskets of river water. Still alive. Barely. They'll be dead in an hour in this heat. Hanging meats. Lamb. Goat. Sometimes pork, covered in flies. The butcher swats them away occasionally. They return immediately. No refrigeration means meat sells in the morning. By afternoon, what's left is questionable. Textile section. Fabric stalls with linen, wool, and if you're lucky, silk from distant trade routes. Linen comes in different grades. Coarse linen for workers. Fine linen for the wealthy. Superfine royal linen that costs more than most people make in a year. Wool in various colors. Natural whites and grays, plus dyed versions in red, blue, and purple. The purple dye comes from murex snails. It takes thousands of snails to make a tiny amount of dye. Only the richest can afford purple clothing. Ready-made tunics hang on display. Most people buy fabric and make their own clothes, but the wealthy buy pre-made. Metal section. Metal workers hammering copper, bronze, and iron. The sound is deafening. Sparks fly. No one wears protective gear. Copper is common, used for tools, pots, decorative items. Bronze is the premium metal, used for weapons, high-quality tools, religious items. Iron is rare and expensive. It's just starting to become available through trade. Most iron items are luxury goods. You see copper pots, bronze knives, iron arrowheads, metal mirrors, jewelry, pins, needles. Everything is made by hand. Everything is unique. Nothing is mass-produced. Pottery section. Hundreds of identical-looking jars, bowls, and cups, all made by hand, all slightly imperfect. Large storage jars for grain, oil, beer, water. Medium jars for cooking. Small jars for perfume, medicine, cosmetics. Bowls for eating. Cups for drinking. Oil lamps. Clay vessels with a wick hole. This is your only source of light after dark. The potters make them daily. They're cheap. Everyone owns dozen. Luxury goods. Jewelry stalls with lapis lazuli, carnelian, gold, silver. Lapis is imported from Afghanistan. It's deep blue with gold flecks. It's worth more than gold. Carnelian is a reddish stone, locally available, popular for beads and seals. Gold is for the wealthy. Silver is the standard currency. Cylinder seals, carved stone stamps used as signatures. Every adult needs one for legal documents. Perfumes and cosmetics, kohl for eye makeup, scented oils, incense. Women line up at these stalls. Cosmetics aren't vanity. They're protection against the sun and a sign of respectability. And everywhere, people are haggling. The art of the haggle. No one pays the asking price. Ever. To do so would be insulting to both parties. It implies you don't respect the game. Here's a typical exchange. Merchant, 5 shekels of silver for this necklace, finest lapis from the mountains, carried by caravan across the desert, blessed by priests. Customer, 2. Merchant gasps, clutches chest like he's been stabbed. You insult me. You insult my family. You insult the mountain gods who created this stone. This is worth 10 shekels. I'm offering it to you for 5 because I like your face. Customer shrugs 2.5. Merchant, impossible. My children will starve. My wife will leave me. The gods will strike me down for accepting such an insult. 4 shekels. Final price. Customer. 3. Merchant. Long pause. Dramatic sigh. You drive a hard bargain. You're stealing from me. My ancestors weep. But fine. 3.5. Customer. 3.25. Merchant. Done. They shake hands. Both smile. Honor is satisfied. They go back and forth for 10 minutes. Eventually, they settle on 3.5 shekels. Everyone walks away, satisfied, having performed the sacred ritual of marketplace negotiation. You watch this happen dozens of times. You realize if you try to buy anything, you're going to get scammed immediately. You look like a foreigner. You smell like a foreigner. You act like a foreigner. Every merchant sees you as an easy target. the animals. The marketplace isn't just for people. Goats wander freely, eating scraps off the ground. They chew on dropped vegetables, spilled grain, and sometimes merchandise. Merchants kick them away. They return 5 minutes later. Chickens peck at spilled grain. They're everywhere, underfoot, on tables, sometimes on people's shoulders. Dogs, mangy, thin, desperate, slink between stalls looking for food. Some are pets. Most are strays. All are hungry. You see one dog steal a piece of meat from a butcher's table. The butcher yells and throws a rock. He misses. The dog escapes. This happens 50 times a day. The butcher has given up caring. Donkeys carry impossibly heavy loads, guided by young boys with sticks. These donkeys are the trucks of ancient Babylon. They carry grain, pottery, textiles, building materials. They're beaten regularly. They're underfed. They collapse from heat exhaustion and are left to die in the street. No one removes the bodies immediately. They just become obstacles that people walk around. Cats slink around the edges. Babylon has a love-hate relationship with cats. They're useful for killing rats and mice, but they're not domesticated pets like they are in Egypt. Most cats are semi-feral. They live in and around the market, surviving on scraps. And the smell of all these animals combined with the heat creates an olfactory experience you'll never forget, no matter how hard you try. The entertainment. In one corner, a musician plays a lyre. The instrument has 11 strings, made from sheep gut. The music is beautiful, haunting, and ancient. He sings in Sumerian, an older language that's still used for religious and artistic purposes. You don't understand the words, but the melody is mesmerizing. People toss small coins into his bowl, copper bits mostly. He'll make enough for beer and bread today. In another corner, a storyteller captivates a crowd with tales of Gilgamesh. He's acting it out, using different voices for different characters. The children are entranced. Even the adults have stopped to listen. The Epic of Gilgamesh is the pop culture of ancient Mesopotamia. Everyone knows the stories. Everyone has a favorite part. This storyteller is performing the scene where Gilgamesh and Enkidu fight the bull of heaven. He's making sound effects, pantomiming the battle. The crowd cheers. Near the temple entrance, a priest performs a blessing ritual. Smoke rises from a small brazier. Incense, frankincense, and myrrh. People kneel, hands pressed to the ground, foreheads touching the dirt. The priest chants in a language even older than Sumerian. Maybe Akkadian? Maybe something else. He sprinkles water from the Euphrates on the worshippers. Holy water. Blessed water. Still contaminated water, but blessed. And everywhere, constantly, deals are being made. Goods exchanged. Promises given. Debts recorded on clay tablets by scribes, sitting in the shade. The scribes. Scribes are crucial to Babylonian commerce. Most people can't read or write. Cuneiform is complex. Hundreds of symbols representing sounds, words, and concept. Learning it takes years of training. Only the wealthy and the priestly class are literate. So when you make a deal, you need a scribe to record it. The scribe sits with a lump of wet clay. He uses a reed stylus, shaped like a triangle, to press marks into the clay. He records names, amounts, goods, terms, witnesses, dates. When he's done, both parties press their cylinder seals into the wet clay, creating their unique signature. The tablet is left to dry in the sun. It becomes a permanent record. These tablets last thousands of years. This is why we know so much about Babylonian commerce. Because they wrote everything down. You watch a scribe record alone. 10 shekels of silver, to be repaid in 3 months, with 20% interest. If the borrower doesn't repay, his property can be seized, or his children sold into slavery. The stakes are high. Everyone is serious. This is the economic heart of Babylon. And it's absolutely exhausting. The thieves. Not everyone in the marketplace is here to buy or sell legitimately. Thieves work the crowd. Pickpockets brush past you, their hands quick and skilled. They target foreigners, distracted shoppers, the elderly. You feel a hand brush your side. You spin around. No one's there. You check your belongings. Everything's still there. This time, children are the best thieves. They're small, fast, and when caught, the punishment is lighter. A group of kids works together. One creates a distraction, another steals, a third carries the goods away. It's organized. Professional, don't I? Profitable, pie. The merchants know this happens. They factor theft into their prices. Guards patrol occasionally. Soldiers in leather armor carrying bronze-tipped spears. But there aren't enough guards. And some guards are corrupt. You see a merchant slip coins to a guard. The guard nods and moves on. Protection money. It's expected. The fatigue. You've been in the market for less than an hour. You're already exhausted. The noise. The heat. The crowd. The smells. The constant vigilance required to avoid being scammed, robbed, or trampled. Your head pounds. Your feet hurt. Your clothes are soaked with sweat. And you still need to buy food for dinner. Chapter 5. Babylonian food. The reality of ancient cuisine. You think ancient food sounds cool. Exotic. Flavorful. Wrong. Your meal is stale barley bread, an onion, thick beer, and maybe figs if you're lucky. Let me break down what eating actually looks like in Babylon. Bread. The foundation of disappointment. Bread is the staple. Everyone eats it. Multiple times a day. It's the basis of every meal. It's currency. It's life. But this isn't the soft, fluffy bread you're thinking of. Babylonian bread is made from barley flour. Wheat is expensive and usually reserved for the wealthy, mixed with water and baked in a clay oven. The process. Barley grains are soaked overnight to soften them. They're ground between 2 stones, a flat bottom stone and a smaller hand stone. This takes hours of back-breaking work. Usually women or slaves do the grinding. You can tell a woman who grinds grain by her muscular arms and damaged knees. The flour is coarse, full of bits of stone, chaff, and sometimes insect. It's mixed with water. No yeast, no leavening, just flour and water. The dough is shaped into flat rounds and slapped onto the inside wall of a clay oven called a tanner. It bakes quickly, maybe 5 minutes, and comes out flat, hard, and dense. The result is dense, hard, dry, and tasteless. You chew it. It crumbles into dust in your mouth. You need beer to swallow it. Sometimes there's grit in it. Small stones from the grinding process. You learn to chew carefully or risk breaking a tooth. And if the bread is a few days old, forget it. You could use it as a weapon. Literally. People have been killed with stale bread. The dental consequences. Babylonian teeth are a disaster. The grit in bread wears down enamel. By age 30, most people have teeth ground almost flat. Cavities are universal. Abscesses are common. Tooth loss is expected. There are no dentists, no pain relief, no fillings. If a tooth hurts badly enough, it's extracted with pliers while you're awake, or it's left to rot in your mouth. Many adults are missing multiple teeth. Chewing becomes difficult. Digestion suffers, and the pain, constant, throbbing toothache, is just part of life for most Babylonians. Vegetables, onions, and sadness. The most common vegetables are onions, garlic, leeks, lentils, chickpeas, and cucumbers. Onions are everywhere. Raw onions, cooked onions, pickled onions. They're cheap. They're filling. They grow well in Mesopotamian soil. You bite into one, raw, because that's how most people eat them. Your eyes water. Your mouth burns. The flavor is sharp, pungent, overwhelming. There's no refrigeration. So vegetables are either fresh, if you're lucky, or semi-rotten, more common. You learn to cut around the bad parts. A third of the onion is brown and mushy. You throw that away and eat the rest. Garlic is used constantly, for flavoring, for medicine, for warding off evil spirits. The smell of garlic is everywhere, on everyone's breath. Wow. In every dish. Lentils are a protein staple. Red lentils, brown lentils, green lentils. They're cooked into thick soups or stews, sometimes with oil, sometimes without. The texture is mushy. The flavor is bland, but they're filling and nutritious. Chickpeas are similar, boiled, mashed, or made into a paste. Cucumbers are a luxury. They need a lot of water to grow, so they're expensive. But when you get one, it's crisp and refreshing. A brief moment of culinary joy. Leeks are like mild onions. They're used in soups and stews. That's it. That's the vegetable selection. No tomatoes. They're in the Americas. No potatoes. Also Americas. No peppers. Americas again. No corn. You guessed it. Your modern diet would be impossible in ancient Babylon. Meat. A luxury. If you want meat, you better know a priest, be rich, or sacrifice something. Most people eat meat a few times a month at best. When you do get it, it's usually mutton, sheep, goat, or occasionally pork. Beef is rare. Cows are expensive to raise and more valuable for milk and plowing. Sheep and goats are the default livestock. They handle the climate better. They eat less. They're more efficient. The meat is tough. These are working animals, not animals bred for tenderness. It's chewy, often overcooked, because no one wants to risk food poisoning. Seasoning? Salt if you're lucky. Maybe some cumin or coriander if the merchant was feeling generous. But most of the time, meat tastes like meat. Plain, gamey, slightly unpleasant meat. It's roasted over an open fire, or boiled in water, or stewed with lentils and onions. No complex recipes, no marinades, no culinary artistry. Just meat, cooked until it's safe to eat. Poultry, chicken is available. Ducks too, though they're less common. Chickens are small, not the giant, hormone-fed birds you're used to. These are scrawny, tough, almost wild birds. A whole chicken barely feeds 2 people. They're usually roasted or boiled. The flavor is strong. Game.Q. Not particularly pleasant. Eggs are more valuable than the birds themselves. A laying hen is protected, fed well, treated carefully. Eggs are eaten boiled, scrambled with fat, or raw, mixed into beer for extra protein. Fish, the protein alternative. The Euphrates provides fish. Lots of fish. Carp, mainly. Also catfish, barbel, and perch. But remember that river we talked about? The one full of sewage and offerings and bathing people? Yeah, that's where this fish comes from. It's usually grilled over an open fire, or dried in the sun for preservation. Sometimes smoked. Fresh fish is sold in the morning. By afternoon, it's starting to smell. By evening, it's dangerous. You take a bite of grilled carp. Got away. It's fishy, very fishy, and slightly muddy tasting. The texture is mushy in some parts, tough in others. You keep eating. Protein is protein. Fruits. The one good thing. Dates are abundant. Sweet, energy-dense, and actually delicious. The date palm is called a tree of life in Mesopotamia. Every part is useful. Dates for eating, wood for building, leaves for weaving, sap for wine. Dates are eaten fresh, dried, pressed into cakes, fermented into wine, or mixed with other foods. They're genuinely good. You eat as many as you can. Figs are common too. Fresh figs are spectacular. Sweet, jammy, perfect. Dried figs are chewy and concentrated. They last for months. Pomegranates appear in season. They're expensive but worth it. The seeds burst in your mouth with tart sweetness. Apples exist, but are rare. Imported from the north at great expense. Grapes grow in some areas. They're eaten fresh or made into wine. Wine is expensive, a luxury for the wealthy. These fruits might be the only thing you actually enjoy eating all day. Dairy. Risky business. Milk spoils fast in the heat. Within hours, it's curdled and sour. So most dairy is fermented. Yogurt is common. Thick, tangy, sour, dark iron. Cheese is made by curdling milk with acid or rennet, then storing it in brine to preserve it. The cheese is strong, very strong. It smells like feet. It tastes like concentrated salt and fermentation. But it doesn't spoil, which makes it valuable. You try some yogurt. It's tangy, thick, and coats your mouth in a way that feels wrong. You drink more beer to wash it down. Fats and oils. Sesame oil is the primary cooking fat. It's used for everything: frying, dressing, lamp fuel, medicine, cosmetics. It has a strong, nutty flavor that dominates any dish it's in. Olive oil is imported from the Mediterranean coast. It's luxury. Most people never taste it. Animal fat from sheep or goats is used when available. It's rendered and saved for cooking. Butter exists but is uncommon. It spoils too quickly. Herbs and spices. Salt is crucial. It's used for preservation and flavoring. It's mined from salt flats or evaporated from seawater. Cumin is popular, earthy, slightly bitter. Coriander seeds are common, citrusy, bright. Mint grows wild and is used fresh. Thyme, oregano, and bay leaves appear in some dishes. Cinnamon and black pepper are exotic imports from far away. Only the wealthy can afford them. Most food is barely seasoned by modern standards. Salt and maybe one herb. That's it. The eating experience. There are no forks, no spoons. Well, sometimes wooden or shell spoons for soup. You eat with your hands, specifically your right hand. You tear off a piece of bread, Use it to scoop up lentils or onions and eat it. Your fingers get greasy, sticky, covered in food. You wipe them on your tunic. Everyone does. There are no napkins, no hand towels, just your clothes or the ground. You sit on the floor or on low stools. There are no dining tables for common people. Food is served in clay bowls placed on the floor. Everyone reaches in and takes what they want. Sharing food is communal. There's no my plate and your plate. It's all one shared meal. Hunger versus reality. Here's the thing. You're still hungry. The portions are small. The food is unsatisfying. Your body craves nutrients it's not getting. The calories are there, barely enough to survive. But the quality is low. You're missing vitamins, minerals, minerals, protein, variety. Your body knows something is wrong. Your stomach never feels truly satisfied. But this is it. This is the meal. You look around. Everyone else is eating the same thing. No one complains. This is normal. This is life. Food for the wealthy. Let me tell you what the rich are eating, just to make you feel worse. They have wheat bread. Soft, fine, actually pleasant. They have honey every day. They have meat regularly, roasted lamb, grilled fish, even beef occasionally. They have imported spices, cinnamon, pepper, cardamom. They have wine instead of beer. They have servants who cook for them. Their food is served on decorated pottery, sometimes even silver plates. They eat lying on cushions, Roman style. Well, pre-Roman style technically. They have musicians playing during meals. They have multiple courses. While you're gnawing on stale bread and raw onions, they're having a feast. The wealth gap in Babylon isn't just about money. It's about quality of life at every level. And food might be where it's most obvious. Chapter 6. The Sun. The Hammer of God. Now the real torture begins. The Babylonian sun doesn't shine. It attacks. It's mid-morning now. Maybe 10 a.m. The temperature has climbed to 42 degrees C. 108 degrees F. And it's going to get worse. By noon, it will hit 47 degrees C, 117 degrees F. By early afternoon, maybe 49 degrees C, 120 degrees F. These temperatures are deadly. Without modern hydration, air conditioning, or medical care, heat kills, and you're about to experience exactly how. Physical assault. The heat feels like a physical force pressing down on you. Your skin burns, even in the shade. Your lips crack. You lick them. Bad dear. Now, they're dry and irritated. Small splits appear at the corners of your mouth. They sting. Your sweat dries instantly. You're sweating. You can feel the moisture forming, but within seconds, it evaporates. This is your body's cooling system working overtime. It's using up your water reserves faster than you can replace them. The air is thick, heavy. Each breath feels like you're inhaling hot soup. Your lungs hurt. The hot, dry air irritates your airways. You start coughing. Your heart beats faster. Your body is working overtime, trying to cool itself down. It's failing. The light. The sun isn't just hot. It's blindingly bright. There are no sunglasses. No concept of UV protection. You squint constantly. Your eyes water. You develop a headache within an hour. The glare off the white-painted buildings is worse. It reflects and multiplies, creating a landscape of visual pain. Everywhere you look, light bounces back at you. There's no escape. Some people wear cloth wrapped around their heads for shade. You should have done that. Too late now. Your eyes hurt so badly you want to close them. But you can't. You need to see where you're walking. The ground, the dirt beneath your feet, radiates heat. It's been baking in the sun for hours. The surface temperature is easily 60 degrees C, 140 degree FR. Your sandals, simple leather straps, offer almost no protection. The heat conducts through the leather directly to your feet. Your soles start to burn. Actually burn. You try walking faster. That makes it worse. More contact, more heat transfer. You try finding shade. There isn't much. The few shaded areas are packed with people and animals, all desperately trying to escape the sun. You squeeze into a small patch of shade against a building. You're pressed against strangers, breathing their air, sharing their sweat. It's still better than being in direct sunlight. Your sandals betray you. Your sandals are falling apart. The leather has dried out in the heat. It's cracking. One of the straps is starting to separate. If your sandal breaks, you'll have to walk barefoot on ground that's hot enough to cause second-degree burns. You see a child running barefoot. His feet are calloused. Thick, leathery pads that protect him from the heat. Your feet aren't like that. You'd be injured within minutes. You baby your sandals. You walk carefully. You pray. They hold together. Heat exhaustion creeps in. You start to feel dizzy. Your vision blurs slightly at the edges. Colors seem washed out. Your mouth is desert dry, despite drinking beer all morning. You feel nauseous. Your stomach churns. Your skin feels clammy, despite the heat. These are warning signs. Your body is shutting down. You need to sit down. You find a wall and lean against it. The mud brick is hot to the touch, probably 50 degrees, but at least you're not standing. Your legs feel weak, shaky. You sit. The ground is even hotter than the wall. It burns through your tunic, but you can't stand anymore. People around you walk casually. They're used to it. Old women carry water jugs on their heads. The weight must be 20-30 pounds. They don't seem bothered. Children run and play, screaming and laughing. Merchants continue shouting their wares, full energy, full volume. You are not used to it. Your body is screaming danger signals. The biology of suffering. Let me explain what's happening to you right now. Your core body temperature is rising. Normal is 37 degrees C, 98.6 degree F. You're probably at 38.5 degrees C, 101 degree F now. By afternoon, you might hit 39 degrees C, 102 degree F. At 40 degrees C, 104 degree F, organs start to fail. Your body tries to cool you by sweating, but you're losing fluids faster than you can replace them. You've drunk maybe 2 liters of beer. You've sweated out 3 liters. You're already dehydrated. Your blood is thickening. Your heart is working harder to pump it. Your blood pressure is rising. Your pulse is rapid, maybe 100 beats per minute when it should be 70. Your brain is getting less oxygen. That's why you feel dizzy. Your kidneys are struggling. Your urine is dark, concentrated. You haven't urinated in hours. Your skin is literally cooking. Sunburn doesn't happen gradually here. It happens fast. UV radiation is intense at this latitude. Without sunscreen, which won't exist for 3,800 years, your skin is absorbing all of it. You'll be burned by this evening. Painful, red, blistering burns. And the worst part? This is still morning. The hottest part of the day is yet to come. Midday, the dead zone. By noon, the temperature hits 47 degrees C, 117 degree F. The city goes quiet. Everyone who can stops working. They retreat indoors. They rest. They wait for the sun to become survivable again. This is called Qailula in later Arabic cultures. The midday rest. It's not laziness, it's survival. Work resumes in late afternoon when temperatures drop to merely unbearable levels. You do the same. You stumble back to your mud brick house. It's somehow even hotter inside. Maybe 43 degree, 109 degree F. The walls have been absorbing heat all morning. Now they're releasing it. Your house is an oven, a slow roasting oven. You lie on your reed mat. You don't sleep. You can't. It's too hot. You just exist in a state of uncomfortable consciousness. Sweat pours off you. It soaks the mat beneath you. You hear other people in neighboring houses. Everyone is suffering together. A baby cries. The sound is weak, exhausted. Someone moans. Time moves slowly. Every minute feels like 10. You stare at the ceiling. You watch a scorpion crawl across a beam. You're too tired to care. You wait. The afternoon. Around 3 p.m., the temperature drops slightly to 44 degrees C, 111 degree F. This is considered cooler. People emerge. Life resumes. You force yourself to stand up. Your head spins. You steady yourself against the wall. Your clothes are soaked through. Your mouth tastes like copper and dust. You drink more beer. It's warm. It doesn't help much. You step outside. The sun is still brutal, but at least it's not directly overhead anymore. The angle has changed. Shadows are longer. There's slightly more shade available. You survived the worst of it. Barely. The toll. Let me tell you what this heat does to Babylonians. Heat stroke kills regularly, especially the elderly, the very young, and people with existing health problems. There are no hospitals, no emergency rooms, no fluids. If you collapse from heat, you're carried home and given water and rest. Either you recover or you die. It's that simple. Chronic dehydration is universal. Everyone is slightly dehydrated all the time. This causes kidney stones, urinary infections, reduced cognitive function, fatigue, irritability. Skin damage accumulates. Everyone over 30 looks older than they are. Leathery skin, deep wrinkles, sunspots. Nutty pie. No aliban pan idea. Eye damage is common. Cataracts develop early from UV exposure. The heat stress shortens lifespan. Combined with everything else, average life expectancy is maybe 35, 40 years. If you survive childhood diseases, you might make it to 50. 60 is ancient. Heat and society. The heat shapes everything in Babylon. Architecture is designed around it. Thick walls, small windows, courtyards for airflow. Daily schedules revolve around it. Work in early morning, rest at midday, resume in late afternoon. Clothing is minimal. Light linen, loose-fitting, often just a wrap around the waist for laborers. Social gathering happens in the evening when it's cooler. Festivals and ceremonies are scheduled for early morning or evening. Even warfare follows the heat. Armies don't march at midday. Battles happen in morning or late afternoon. The sun is respected, feared, worshipped. Shamash, the sun god, is one of the most important deities. He's the god of justice, because like the sun, justice sees everything and illuminates truth. Prayers to Shamash are common. Please don't burn us today. Please let us survive. Please show mercy. The sun is not your friend in Babylon. It's a constant threat. And every day you fight it. Some days you win. Some days it wins. Oh, Chapter 7. Social rules you don't know. The invisible minefield. Now you walk through Babylon, trying to mind your business. But Babylon has rules. Rules you do not know. Rules no one explained to you. Rules that can get you punished, beaten, fined, enslaved, or killed. Let me walk you through the minefield. Rule #1. Eye contact, hierarchy. Do not stare at a noble woman. If a woman is dressed in fine linen, wearing jewelry, accompanied by servants, you look down. Not at her face. Not at her body. Down. At the ground. Looking too long is considered an insult. Or worse, a sexual advance. The penalty depends on her husband's mood and connections. You might get beaten. You might get fined. A substantial amount that could bankrupt you. You might lose a hand if her husband is particularly influential. Best to avoid the risk. But here's the problem. You need to know who's a noblewoman and who isn't. And you don't. That woman walking toward you, is she wealthy? Middle class? A slave wearing her mistress's hand-me-downs? You make a guess. You look down. Better safe than sorry. Rule #2. Temple etiquette. Do not speak loudly in or near a temple. Temples are sacred spaces. The gods live there. Literally. The priests will tell you this with complete seriousness. The statue of the god isn't just a representation. It is the god. It's fed daily, clothed, bathed, put to bed at night. If you're loud, disrespectful, or, God's forbid, you laugh near a temple, you're committing blasphemy. And blasphemy in Babylon is not a minor offense. You can be fined. Baton. Required to make offerings. In extreme cases, like if you mock a god or damage temple property, you can be executed. You pass the temple of Ishtar. People are kneeling outside, praying silently. You lower your voice to a whisper. You slow your pace. You bow your head slightly in respect. Even though you don't believe in these gods, you play along. Because the consequences of not playing along are severe. Rule #3. Polytheistic respect. Do not insult anyone's gods. There are hundreds of gods in Babylon. Marduk, Ishtar, Shamash, Sin, Nabu, Adad, Nergal, Ea, Anu, and dozens more. Every family has their favorites. Every profession has patron deities. If you mock someone's god, even accidentally, you've just made an enemy. And in a city where everyone knows everyone, making enemies is dangerous. Let's say you're a potter, and you make a joke about Ea, god of water and crafts. Another potter overhears. Ea is his patron god. He's offended. He tells his friends. Word spreads. Suddenly every potter in the city knows you disrespected Ea. They refuse to trade with you. They spread rumors. They sabotage your reputation. Your business dies. All because of one joke. Rule #4. Physical space and property. Do not bump into a merchant's stall. If you knock over pottery, spill oil, or damage goods, you're liable. The merchant will grab you. Other merchants will back him up. A crowd will form. You'll be forced to pay for the damage. If you can't pay immediately, they'll take your clothes, your sandals, anything of value. And if you have nothing, you might be sold into temporary debt slavery to work off the cost. Under Hammurabi's code, debt slavery is legal and common. You work for the creditor until the debt is paid. Could be months, could be years. Your family might be sold too, so you walk carefully. You avoid bumping anything. You watch where you step. Rule #5. Priest superiority. Do not walk in front of a priest. Priests are the intermediaries between humans and gods. They outrank you, always. If a priest is walking down the street, you step aside. You wait. You bow slightly. If you don't, other citizens will correct you. Aggressively. You see a priest approaching. He's wearing white linen robes, freshly washed. His head is shaved. He carries a staff. Everyone parts for him like water. You step to the side. You bow your head. He passes without acknowledging you. This is normal. Priests don't acknowledge commoners. You're beneath their notice. Rule #6. The left hand taboo. Do not touch someone with your left hand. We covered why earlier. Your left hand is unclean. Using it to greet someone, hand them something, or touch them is a grave insult. They will recoil. They will be disgusted. They might spit. You see two men greeting each other. They clasp right hands, touching their hearts with their left hands. This is the proper greeting between equals. You practice in your head. Right hand only. Always right hand. Rule #7. Market etiquette. Do not handle goods without asking permission. You can't just pick up a fig and inspect it. You can't squeeze bread to check freshness. You can't lift a piece of fabric to feel the quality. You ask first. You wait for permission. Then, and only then, you touch. Breaking this rule marks you as uncivilized. A barbarian. The merchant will shout at you. Other customers will judge you. You'll be remembered as that rude foreigner. Rule #8. Dress code. Your clothing signals your status. Fine linen means wealth. Coarse linen means working class. Wool means you're practical, but not wealthy. Rags mean poverty. If you're dressed poorly, but act like you're wealthy, people get suspicious. Are you a thief? A con artist? An escaped slave? You're wearing a simple tunic. It's clean-ish. It's respectable. It marks you as working class. You need to act accordingly. Respectful to superiors, friendly to equals, kind but firm with inferiors. If you get this wrong, people notice. Rule #9. Water rights. Do not waste water. Water is precious. Every drop is valuable. If you spill water carelessly, people will be angry. Actually, angry. There's a public well. People are lined up, waiting their turn. Everyone takes their allotted amount, usually a measure determined by household size. If someone takes more, the line erupts. Arguments start. Sometimes fights. You wait your turn. You take only what you're allowed. You don't spill a drop. Rule #10. Oath-taking. Do not make promises lightly. In Babylon, oaths are sacred, legally binding, enforced by gods and courts. If you swear an oath and break it, you're brought before judges. You might be fined, beaten, or executed, depending on the severity. Oaths are taken seriously. You swear by gods. You swear by the king. You swear by your ancestors. Breaking an oath is breaking cosmic law. So, if someone asks, "Do you swear by Marduk?" you better mean it. The fear. Every corner you turn, you risk offending someone. And in Babylon, offending someone equals legal trouble. You remember that this is the birthplace of Hammurabi's code. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Severe punishment. Your anxiety rises. You become hypervigilant, watching everyone, analyzing every interaction, trying not to make mistakes. It's exhausting. The social classes. Let me explain Babylon's class structure, because it affects every interaction. Awilum, free persons. The wealthy landowners, priests, merchants. These are the elite. They have rights. They have protection under law. They have influence. Mushkanum, commoners, free, but not wealthy. Farmers, craftsmen, laborers. They have some legal rights, but less than the Awilum. You're probably in this class. Wardum, slaves, no rights. Property, owned by individuals or temples. They can be bought, sold, inherited, or free. Punishments, scale by class. If an Awilum injures another Awilum, it's eye for an eye. If an Awilum injures a Mushkanum, it's a fine. If an Awilum injures a slave, it's a smaller fine. The price of property damage. But if a Mushkanum injures an Awilum, the punishment is severe. And if a slave injures a free person, the slave loses a body part, or is executed. Justice isn't blind in Babylon. It's very aware of who you are. The legal system. Babylon has courts. Adjustor. Serzetin. T. Dangerous. Danair. Ardanesra. Legal procedures. If you're accused of something, you're brought before judges. Usually, a panel of 3. Evidence is presented. Witnesses testify. Documents are examined. The judges deliberate and issue a verdict. Sometimes the verdict is clear. Pay a fine, receive lashes, lose a hand. Sometimes it's ambiguous. Trial by river, trial by ordeal. The river ordeal works like this. You're thrown in. If you survive, the gods declared you innocent. If you drown, you were guilty. There's no appeal. The gods have spoken. Social surveillance. Everyone watches everyone. Your neighbors know your business. They know when you come home, when you leave, who visits you, what you buy. They report suspicious behavior. If you're living beyond your means, people wonder, is he a thief? If you're meeting with the wrong people, rumors spread. Is he plotting something? If you don't participate in religious festivals, priests take note. Is he disrespecting the gods? Privacy is impossible. Reputation is everything. One mistake can follow you for life. Chapter 8. Punishment. The trial. You walk past a small crowd. They're gathered in a public square. Everyone's watching something. Curiosity gets the better of you. You push closer. In the center, a man. Hands bound with rope. Face bruised and swollen. Blood dried on his lip. Next to him, a priest reading from a clay tablet. The charges are being read aloud in Akkadian. You don't understand all the words, but you catch enough. Theft from A temple. Sacred vessels. The crowd murmurs. This is serious. Theft is bad. Theft from a temple is worse. You're not just stealing from people. You're stealing from gods. The code. Hammurabi's code isn't a suggestion. It's law. Carved in stone. Literally. There's a massive stone stele in the city center, over 7 feet tall, black basalt, covered in cuneiform script. 282 laws, covering everything from property theft to medical malpractice to marriage disputes. The stele is public. Anyone can read it. Well, anyone who's literate, which is maybe 5% of the population. But even illiterate people know the laws. They're taught from childhood. They're discussed constantly. They're the foundation of society. And the punishments? Proportional, brutal, public. Examples of justice. Let me give you some examples from the code. Law 6. If anyone steals the property of a temple or of the court, he shall be put to death, and also the one who receives the stolen thing from him shall be put to death. That's this man's crime. Death sentence. Law 8. If anyone steals cattle or sheep, or an ass, or a pig or a goat, if it belong to a god or to the court, the thief shall pay 30-fold. If they belong to a freedman of the king, he shall pay 10-fold. If the thief has nothing with which to pay, he shall be put to death. Can't pay. Death. Law 21. If anyone breaks a hole into a house to rob, he shall be put to death before that hole and be buried. Caught breaking in, executed on the spot, buried in the hole you made. Law 129. If a man's wife is caught lying with another man, they shall bind them and cast them into the water. Adultery, drowning. Law 195. If a son strikes his father, his hands shall be cut off. Disrespect, mutilation. Law 196. If a man puts out the eye of an equal, his eye shall be put out. The famous eye for an eye. Law 200. If a man knocks out the teeth of his equal, his teeth shall be knocked out. And tooth for a tooth. Law 218. If a physician makes a large incision with an operating knife and kills him, or opens a tumor with an operating knife and cuts out the eye, his hands shall be cut off. Medical malpractice, lose your hands. Law 229. If a builder builds a house for someone and does not construct it properly, and the house which he built falls in and kills its owner, then that builder shall be put to death. Construction failure, death. Death. The code is clear. The code is harsh. The code is final. The execution. Back to the man in the square. His punishment is announced. Death by drowning. This is a religious execution. The river will judge him. The gods will decide. If he somehow survives, if he swims to shore, he's innocent and the gods have saved him. If he drowns, he was guilty and the gods have punished him. Either way, justice is served. The crowd murmurs approval. Some nod. Others look away. Children watch with wide eyes. This is education. This is how you learn consequences. Guards, 2 soldiers in leather armor, drag the man toward the river. He's screaming now, pleading, crying. I didn't know they were sacred. Please, I have children. I have a wife. Mercy, please, mercy. No one intervene. The priests have spoken. The law is clear. Mercy would undermine the entire system. They reach the riverbank. The guards bind his feet together. They tie a stone to the rope. Not huge, maybe 20 pounds, but enough. One guard says a prayer. Quick. Why? Perfunctory. They throw him in. The man hits the water and immediately sinks. The weight pulls him down. He thrashes. You can see his silhouette under the brown-green water. He tries to surface. He almost makes it. His head breaks the surface for 1 second. He gasps. Then he's pulled under again. The crowd watches in silence. Time passes. Maybe 30 seconds. Maybe a minute. The man doesn't resurface. The water settles. It's over. The crowd disperses slowly. Some people pray. Others just walk away. Life continues. Justice has been served. Your stomach drops. You feel sick. You just watched a man die. Executed. Drowned. Killed by the state, by the priests, by the gods. And everyone acted like it was normal. Because it is normal. This happens regularly. Executions are public. They're meant to be seen. They're warnings. Obey the law. Respect the gods, or this will be you. You swallow hard. You walk away faster. You avoid eye contact with everyone. You survived witnessing punishment one of the day. You pray there won't be more. Other punishments you might see. Drowning isn't the only method. Impalement, reserved for the worst crimes. Treason, rebellion against the king, murder of a noble. The victim is impaled on a wooden stake and left to die. It takes hours, sometimes days. Burning, for some religious crimes. The victim is tied to a post and burned alive. Stoning. Community punishment. The whole neighborhood participates. Throw stones until the victim is dead. Mutilation. Hands cut off for theft. Tongue cut off for false testimony. Ear cut off for striking a superior. Nose cut off for adultery, sometimes. You see people walking around missing body parts. Everyone knows why. Flogging. Public whipping. The victim is tied to a post and beaten with a rod or whip. Could be 10 lashes. Could be 100. The stocks. Public humiliation. The offender is locked in wooden stocks in the market square. People throw food, garbage, sometimes stones. They spit. They insult. Hours or days of humiliation. Venus. For lesser crimes. But if you can't pay, it escalates to slavery or physical punishment. Slavery. Debt slavery is common. Can't pay a fine. You're a slave until the debt is worked off. The purpose. These punishments aren't just about justice. They're about control. Fear keeps people in line. Public executions remind everyone. This is what happens when you break the rules. The state's power is visible, tangible, terrifying, and it works. Crime exists, but it's relatively low. Not because people are inherently good, but because the consequences are so severe. You learn the lesson. You walk carefully. You follow the rules. You survive. Chapter 9. The Priests and the Temple. The true power. Babylon is ruled by kings, but kings answer to gods, and gods speak through priests. So really, Babylon is ruled by priests, omens, astrology, rituals, and sacrifices. The king might wear the crown, but the priests hold the real power. The Temple of Marduk. You walk past the Temple of Marduk, the Esagila, the greatest temple in Babylon. Its walls tower above you, massive, Meh. Imposing. Decorated with glazed blue bricks that shimmer in the sunlight like lapis lazuli. The walls are at least 30 feet high. The main temple complex covers multiple acres. The ziggurat, Etemenanke, rises behind it, a stepped pyramid reaching toward the heavens, maybe 300 feet tall. This is the Tower of Babel from biblical legend. This is where humans tried to reach the gods. Incense smoke pours out from the temple entrance. The smell is thick, sweet, and slightly intoxicating. Frankincense and myrrh, imported at enormous expense from Arabia. Chanting echoes from inside. Deep, rhythmic, hypnotic. People kneel on the ground outside, foreheads pressed to the dirt, praying. Some are muttering. Some are silent. Some are weeping. You step forward. You're curious. You want to see inside. You take a step toward the entrance. Everyone else bows. You don't. You're too focused on looking around. A priest, tall, shaved head, white linen robes so clean they practically glow, turns and stares directly at you. His expression is cold, judgmental, dull, penetrating. Your stomach drops. You quickly bow, deeply, respectfully, almost prostrating yourself. The priest watches you for a long moment. His eyes narrow. He says nothing. Then he turns away. You just avoided execution hash, one of the day. Your heart races. Inside the temple interior is dim, cool, a massive relief from the heat outside. The temperature drops maybe 10 degrees immediately. The thick walls and high ceilings keep it relatively comfortable. Clay oil lamps flicker along the walls. Hundreds of them. Shadows dance across intricate carvings and painted murals. The air is thick with incense, myrrh, frankincense, cedar, almost too thick. You feel lightheaded. At the far end, a massive statue of Marduk, gold-plated, at least 10 feet tall, eyes made of lapis lazuli that seem to follow you. He holds a staff and a ring, symbols of power and justice. The statue isn't just art. It's literally the god. Every morning, priests perform a ceremony where they wake the statue. They wash it, dress it, feed it. Food offerings are placed before the statue. Bread, meat, beer, honey, dates. The god eats the food. Then priests consume it later. Because, of course, the god doesn't actually eat. But the ritual must be performed. The priests move through the space like ghosts. Silent, purposeful, graceful. They're shaved completely. Head, face, body. Hair is considered unclean. Only peasants have hair. Their robes are immaculate white linen, washed daily. They're not allowed to wear wool in the temple, only linen. Some wear elaborate headdresses. Some carry staffs. All exude authority. There's a hierarchy. High priest, Shangu. The top, Baitoe. He oversees all temple activities, communicates with the god, advises the king. Divination priests, Bruhu. They read omens, examine animal livers, interpret dreams, predict the future. Exorcist priests, they remove evil spirits, cure diseases through ritual, protect against demons. Chanting priests, Kalu. They perform the sacred songs and prayers. Their voices are trained for years. Junior priests, they do the grunt work, cleaning offerings, maintaining lamps, assisting in rituals, and dozens more specialized roles. The rituals. You watch as a ritual unfolds. 3 priests stand before the Marduk statue. One chants in Sumerian, an ancient language, older than Akkadian, used only for sacred purposes now. Another pours a libation, water from the Euphrates, collected at dawn, blessed through prayer. The third burns incense in a bronze brazier. The smoke rises, the chanting echoes. The atmosphere is thick with mysticism. You don't understand the words. Few people do. That's intentional. Sacred knowledge is secret knowledge. The ritual lasts maybe 20 minutes. Then the priests bow and depart. Immediately, another group enters. More prayers, more offerings. This continues all day. Every day. The gods must be constantly appeased. The sacrifice. In the courtyard, a goat is being prepared for sacrifice. You watch from a distance. The goat is led to an altar, a raised stone platform stained dark with old blood. A priest examines the goat carefully. It must be perfect. No blemishes, no defects. Satisfied, he says a prayer. Quick, one, formulaic, I. He raises a bronze knife. The blade catches the sunlight. One swift motion across the throat. The goat bleats, a horrible, gurgling sound, then stops. Blood flows into a bronze bowl held by another priest. The blood is offered to Marduk, poured onto the altar. The body is butchered efficiently. Some parts are burned, the gods share. Other parts are distributed, some to priests, some to the poor, some sold in the market. Nothing is wasted. This happens multiple times daily. Sheep, goats, sometimes cattle for major festivals. The gods are hungry. The gods must be fed. Divination. One section of the temple is dedicated to divination. You see a priest examining a sheep's liver. He's cut it open carefully. The liver is laid on a clay model, a reference guide showing what different marks mean. He studies it intently, taking notes on a clay tablet. A cyst here means military defeat. A dark spot there means famine. An unusual shape predicts the king's death. This isn't superstition to him. This is science. This is how the gods communicate. The liver is a map of the future. You just have to know how to read it. Other priests interpret dreams, cast lots, read the movement of birds, analyze the smoke from incense. Everything is a sign. Everything has meaning. Astrology and omens. Babylonian priests are also astronomers. They've been tracking the movement of stars, planets, the moon, and the sun for centuries. They record everything on clay tablets. They identify patterns. They know when eclipses will happen. They can predict seasons. They understand planetary movements. This isn't for curiosity. It's for survival. When Venus appears in the morning sky at a certain time, it means war. When Mars moves through a specific constellation, it means drought. Eclipses are major events. They require immediate rituals to appease the gods. If the king ignores an omen, disaster follows. Always. At least that's what the priests say. And who's going to argue? Kings who ignored omens and then died are proof. Kings who obeyed and survived are also proof. The system is self-confirming. The library. Temples have libraries. Vast collections of clay tablets. Medical texts. Mathematical texts. astronomical records, legal documents, literary works, prayers, and hymns. The Epic of Gilgamesh was preserved in temple libraries. So were texts on mathematics. Babylonians invented the base 60 number system we still use for time. 60 minutes, 60 seconds. So were astronomical records that track Venus for over 1,000 years. The priests aren't just religious leaders, they're scholars, intellectuals, scientists. By ancient standards, they hold knowledge. They control knowledge. Knowledge is power. The temple economy. Temples are wealthy, incredibly wealthy. They own land, thousands of acres, worked by slaves and tenant farmers. They own livestock, flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle. They receive constant offerings, money, grain, animals, goods. They run workshops, textile production, metalworking, brewing. They lend money at interest. Temple loans finance trade expeditions, construction projects, business ventures. Some temples are richer than the king, and priests control it all. The religion of fear. Here's the thing about Babylonian religion. It's based on fear. The gods are not benevolent. They're not loving. They're not merciful. They're powerful, unpredictable, and easily angered. If you don't make offerings, bad things happen. If you don't perform rituals, bad things happen. If you offend a god, even accidentally, bad things happen. So everyone is constantly trying to stay on the god's good side. And the priests are the gatekeepers. They interpret. They mediate. They control access to divine favor. You can't bypass them. You can't pray directly and expect results. You need them. They perform the rituals. They know the prayers. They have the God's ear, and they charge for it. Want a blessing? Pay the temple. Want a curse removed? Pay the temple. Want good fortune? Pay the temple. Want healing? Pay the temple. Everything costs something. The priests have built a system where they're indispensable, and it works. For them, the power dynamic. Let me make this clear. Priests can make or break kings. If the high priest declares that the omens are against the king is in trouble. Nobles start plotting. Generals hesitate. The public loses faith. Kings need priestly approval to rule effectively. So kings appease priests. They fund temples. They sponsor festivals. They defer to religious authority. It's a delicate balance. The king has the army. The priests have the gods. Neither can fully dominate the other. But on a day-to-day level, priests hold more practical power over common people. You're more likely to interact with a priest than with the king, and that interaction could save you or destroy you. Chapter 10. The Hanging Gardens. A moment of beauty. Finally, something beautiful. After hours of heat, filth, fear, and chaos, you stumble upon one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Actually, there's historical debate about whether these gardens actually existed in Babylon, or if they were in Nineveh or somewhere else entirely. But, for our purposes, let's say they're real, and they're here. The first sight, you see greenery, actual greenery, in a city of brown mudbrick dust and dying grass. This is a shock. Terraced levels rise above you like a man-made mountain, each one covered in plants, Palms, flowers, vines, shrubs, trees. The structure is massive, maybe 400 feet on each side, rising 75 feet high. Waterfalls cascade down from level to level. The sound of flowing water is soothing, almost unreal in this desert city. Cool mist drifts through the air. It touches your skin. You close your eyes. For the first time all day, you feel relief. Actual, physical relief. Your body temperature drops. Your skin stops burning. You can breathe without pain. Walking through paradise. You enter the garden. Gods watch from a distance. These gardens belong to the king. Not everyone is allowed in. But today, for whatever reason, they let you pass. Maybe it's a festival day. Maybe the king is feeling generous. Maybe you just got lucky. Shaded paths wind between plant beds. The temperature drops immediately, maybe 5 degrees cooler than outside. The shade from the plants, combined with the evaporative cooling from the water, creates a microclimate. It feels like a different world. You hear birds singing. Real birds. Not screaming donkeys or squawking chickens. Actual songbirds. Colorful finches. Doves. Maybe even a peacock in the distance. Its call echoing through the gardens. Butterflies drift lazily through the air. Bees hum from flower to flower. The smell is incredible. Jasmine, roses, citrus blossoms, fresh earth, wet stone. You take a deep breath. This time, you don't regret it. The plants. Let me describe what's growing here. Palm trees. Date palms, mainly, providing fruit and shade. Fruit trees. Pomegranates, figs, apricots, possibly apples imported from the north. Flowering plants. Roses, jasmine, lilies, iris, poppies. Vines, grapevines. Climbing roses, ivy d'étoile. Herbs, mint, basil, thyme, coriander. Vegetables. This isn't just decorative. There are sections with onions, lettuce, cucumbers. Everything is lush. Green. Why? Thriving. In a desert. The engineering marvel. These gardens shouldn't exist. Babylon is in a desert. Water is scarce. Yet somehow, thousands of plants thrive here. How? Wow. A complex system of irrigation. Water is pulled up from the Euphrates using a chain pump system. Slaves and animals, usually donkeys or oxen, work the pumps day and night. The pumps are wooden wheels with buckets attached. As the wheel turns, buckets scoop water from the river and lift it to an aqueduct. The aqueduct runs underground and above ground, distributing water across the garden. From the top level, water flows downward through channels, watering each terrace. Excess water is collected and recycled or allowed to evaporate, creating the cooling mist. It's brilliant. It's extravagant. It's a flex of wealth and engineering prowess. King Nebuchadnezzar II supposedly built this for his wife, Amytis of Media, who missed the green mountains of her homeland. Whether that story is true or romantic legend doesn't matter. The gardens are real, and they're breathtaking. The terraces. You climb stairs from one level to the next. Each terrace is supported by massive stone columns and arched vaults underneath. The vaults are waterproofed with layers of reeds, asphalt, and lead to prevent water from seeping into the structure below. It's a remarkable feat of engineering for 600 BCE. At the top level, you have a view of the entire city. Babylon spreads out before you. The Euphrates cutting through the center, the Ishtar Gate gleaming blue in the distance, The ziggurats rising like mountains, thousands of mud brick houses packed together. Smoke rises from cooking fires. You can hear the city, a dull roar of voices, animals, activity. But up here, it's muted, distant, almost peaceful. You breathe. You find a bench carved from stone. You sit. You watch the water cascade down the levels. You listen to the birds. You let the mist cool your skin. For a moment, you forget the heat. You forget the chaos. You forget the filth. You forget that you're trapped in a civilization that could kill you at any moment for breaking a rule you didn't know existed. You just exist. You watch a butterfly land on a flower. It opens and closes its wings slowly, blue and black patterns. You watch water drip from a leaf. Each drop catches the light. You hear children laughing somewhere nearby. Happy. Wrong. Genuinely happy. It is the only peaceful moment of your entire day. Enjoy it, because it won't last. The reality. Eventually, a guard approaches. He gestures toward the exit. Time's up. You stand slowly. Your muscles are stiff from sitting. Your sunburn aches. You take one last look at the gardens. Then you step back into the heat. The temperature hits you immediately. It feels 10 degrees hotter than before. Maybe it is. The noise returns. Shouts, animals, metal clanging. The smell returns. Sweat, sewage, dust. The peace is gone. You're back in Babylon. Chapter 11. Nightfall. The sun dies. The sun finally sets. The sky turns orange, then red, then purple. Colors you haven't seen all day because you've been squinting against blinding light. You'd think this would be a relief. You'd be wrong. When the sun disappears, the city changes. The shift. During the day, Babylon is chaotic, but organized. There are rules. There are priests. There are guards. There's structure. At night, those rules get flexible. The drunks emerge. The thieves, the desperate, the hungry, the angry. And some guards are part of the problem, not the solution. Guards patrol, but not everywhere. Not enough of them. And they're not as vigilant after dark. Some guards are corrupt. They accept bribes to look the other way. They shake down vulnerable people for protection money. And some guards drink on duty. So nighttime Babylon is dangerous. The darkness. There are no streetlights, no lanterns lining the roads, no public lighting of any kind. If you're rich, you carry a torch or have a servant carry one for you. The torch is a wooden stick wrapped in oil-soaked cloth. It provides light for maybe 20 feet. Beyond that, darkness. If you're not rich, you walk in darkness. The moon provides some light, if it's not a new moon. Tonight, it's a crescent. Barely anything. But mostly, you navigate by memory, by feel, by luck. Shadows move in alleyways. You can't tell if they're people, animals, or your imagination. You walk faster. Your footsteps echo on the hard-packed dirt. Too loud. Everyone can hear you coming. The sounds. The city is quieter at night, but not silent. You hear dogs barking in the distance. Always dogs. Packs of strays that roam at night, fighting over scraps. Distant arguments. Arodimes, a man and woman yelling. You don't understand the words, but the anger is universal. A woman crying. Somewhere, you can't tell where. Someone singing drunkenly. Off-key. Akkadian lyrics you don't recognize. Footsteps behind you. You glance back. No one's there. The footsteps continue. Your heart races. You turn a corner quickly. You press against a wall, hiding in shadow. A figure walks past. Male. Coat. Medium height. Turntwai. He doesn't see you. You wait until he's gone. You keep moving. The temple drums. From the ziggurats, drums echo across the city. Priests performing night rituals. Prayers to Sin, the moon god. Sin is one of the most important gods. The moon is sacred. It measures time, marks months, guides travelers. The drumbeat is rhythmic, constant, almost hypnotic. Boom, boom, boom. It's the soundtrack to Babylonian night. It should be comforting. A reminder that the gods are watching, that priests are working to keep the cosmic order. But in the darkness, it's eerie, ominous. Pokey. The taverns. You pass a tavern. Light spills out from the doorway. Voices inside are loud, laughing. These are the only bright spots in the city after dark. People are drinking beer. Lots of beer. Some are gambling, rolling dice made from knuckle bones or carved wood. Others are negotiating deals, arguing prices, telling exaggerated stories. A tavern keeper, a woman, which is common, shouts at someone who's had too much. He stumbles out into the street. He nearly crashes into you. Sorry, friend. Sorry. He slurs the words. His breath reeks of beer and onions. You sidestep him. He wanders off into the darkness, singing. The prostitutes, near the tavern. Women wait. Prostitution is legal in Babylon. It's regulated, taxed, considered a normal profession. Some prostitutes work independently. Others work for taverns or temples. Yes, temples. Sacred prostitution exists. Women who serve at the temple of Ishtar, goddess of love and war. Sex with them is considered an offering to the goddess. They're not ashamed. They're professionals. They call out to you as you pass, offering services, quoting prices. You shake your head. Keep walking. One follows for a few steps, trying to negotiate. You walk faster. She gives up, returns to her spot. The real danger. The biggest threat at night isn't thieves, though they exist. It's accidents. Stepping in a hole you can't see and breaking your ankle. Walking into a drainage channel and falling. The channels are maybe 4 feet deep. If you're drunk or not paying attention, you could drown in a foot of sewage water, getting lost and ending up in the wrong neighborhood. Some areas are more dangerous than others. If you're not local, you don't know which is which. Or encountering someone with power who's had too much to drink. A drunk nobleman is more dangerous than 10 sober thieves. He's protected by law and connections. He can do almost anything without consequences. If he decides you looked at him wrong, or bumped him, or insulted him, even accidentally, he can have you beaten, arrested, enslaved, and there's nothing you can do about it. The wild animals. Babylon's outskirts have walls, but animals still get in. Jackals sometimes wander the streets at night, looking for garbage and scraps. They're not aggressive toward humans usually, but if you surprise one, or if it's cornered, it might attack. Wild dogs, different from the city strays. sometimes form packs. They're bolder, more dangerous, and occasionally, if you're near the agricultural areas, hyenas. Hyenas are terrifying. They're bigger than dogs, stronger, and they hunt in packs. Their laugh, that famous cackling sound, echoes in the night. If you hear it, you run. Though, curfew. Unofficial. There's no official curfew, but there's an understood one. Respectable people are home after dark. If you're out late, you're either up to no good, thief, criminal, working, night watchman, baker, starting early, drunk, leaving a tavern, desperate, can't afford shelter. None of these categories make you look good. So most people stay home. You make it back. Finally, you see your street. Your mud brick house looks the same as 20 others around it. You recognize it by the crack in the wall near the door. You slip inside quickly. You close the door. There's no lock, just a wooden beam you slot across to barricade it. You do so. You're safe. For now, you survived the night. Most people do, but not all. Tomorrow, someone will find a body in an alley, or a drunk who fell in a channel, or a robbery victim. It won't be news. It will be routine. Another day, another casualty. Chapter 12. Sleeping in Babylon. The end of the day. You return to your reed mat on the hard clay floor. Your body is exhausted, physically drained, mentally spent. You've walked miles. You've sweated liters. You've navigated social minefields. You've witnessed death. You've survived heat, hunger, thirst, fear. You should sleep immediately. But sleep. That's not going to be easy. The heat, still, even at night, the heat lingers. The temperature has dropped to maybe 32 degrees C, 90 degree F. Better than the daytime 47 degrees C, but still oppressive. The mud brick walls absorb the sun all day. Now they're slowly releasing it. Your house is still an oven, a slow-roasting oven. You lie on the mat. Sweat immediately beads on your skin. You try different positions. On your back, uncomfortable. Your spine presses into the mat. On your side, your hip digs into the hard floor. On your stomach, you can't breathe properly. Nothing helps. The mat beneath you is damp with old sweat. It smells like people who've slept here for weeks without washing the mat. Because they have. The insects return. Mosquitoes attack immediately. That high-pitched whine near your ear. You swat blindly in the darkness. You miss. It lands on your arm. You feel it bite. You slap. Got it. You feel the wet smear on your skin. But it doesn't matter. Another one appears. Then 3 more. They're everywhere. Breeding in any standing water, drainage channels, beer jars, water storage pots. You give up trying to kill them all. You just endure. Bites appear on your arms, legs, neck, face, places you didn't know mosquitoes could reach. They itch. You scratch. Bad idea. Now they itch more. And you've broken the skin. Small infections will start tomorrow. Bedbugs join the party. You feel them crawling. Tiny movements across your skin. They bite too. Different from mosquitoes. Slower, more persistent. By morning, you'll have dozens of bites. Red, swollen, itching like crazy. The sounds. Sleep requires silence, or at least tolerable noise. You have neither. A dog barks nearby. Then another. Then a whole pack engages in a territorial dispute. This continues for 10 minutes, then stops, then starts again. People argue in the house next door. Their voices carry through the thin walls. You hear every word. You don't understand the language, but the emotion is clear. Anger, frustration, resentment. A baby cries for an hour, maybe longer. You lose track. The sound is piercing. It drills into your skull. Eventually, the baby stops. Maybe it fell asleep. Maybe it exhausted itself. Drums from the temple continue. Steady, relentless. Boom, boom, boom. All night, the priests never stop. Prayer is constant. Someone walks past your house. Their sandals slap against the dirt. Slow, deliberate steps. You wait for them to pass. They don't. They stop outside your door. Silence. Your heart pounds. Who is it? What do they want? Then they move on. Just a random person walking home. Your heart is racing again. It takes minutes to calm down. The thoughts. Your mind won't shut off. You replay the day. The heat pressing down like a physical weight. The filth, sewage, sweat, rotting food. The fear. Breaking unknown rules. Witnessing execution. Navigating dangerous streets. The chaos. The market. The crowds. The noise. The beauty. The brief peace in the hanging garden. You think about tomorrow. Will it be the same? Worse? Will you make a mistake? Often someone get sick, get hurt. Every day here is survival. There's no comfort, no safety net, no guarantee you'll make it through. You think about home. Your real home. With air conditioning, running water, toilets, refrigeration, medical care, safety. You'd give anything to be back there. Anything. The discomfort catalog. Let's list everything that's currently wrong with your body. Sunburned skin on your face, neck, arm. It hurts to touch. It will peel tomorrow. Cracked, bleeding lips. Dehydrated, your mouth is dry, your urine is dark. Headache from heat exposure and eye strain. Sore muscles from walking miles on uneven ground. Bruised hips and shoulders from sleeping on a hard surface. Upset stomach from beer and questionable food. Dozens of insect bites, all itching. Cuts and scrapes on your feet from broken sandals. General fatigue that goes beyond tired. You're depleted. And yet, you're supposed to sleep. Eventually. At some point, maybe 2 a.m., maybe 4 a.m. You don't know, because there are no clocks. You drift off, not into deep sleep, more like a shallow, restless half-consciousness. You dream, but the dreams are anxious, chaotic. You're running through the market. People are chasing you. You don't know why. You're drowning in the river. The water is thick, brown, suffocating. You're standing before priests. They're reading your crimes. You can't understand the words. You wake up multiple times. Each time, you hope it's morning. It's not. The darkness continues. The heat continues. The insects continue. You drift off again. Morning comes. Finally, light filters through the small openings in the walls. Gray, pre-dawn light. Not bright yet, but enough to see. You made it. You survived a day in Babylon. 24 hours. Most modern people wouldn't last 3 hours. You made it through 24. Congratulations. Chapter 13. The Rise and Fall of Hammurabi. Now that you've lived through a day in Babylon, let's talk about the man who made this city what it is. The man whose code you feared all day. The man whose laws shaped justice, civilization, and urban life itself. Hammurabi. Dorna. Shetai. Din Bandina. The beginning. Hammurabi was born around 1810 BCE to what? He wasn't supposed to be king. Well, he was the son of Sin-Muballit, king of Babylon, so he was in line for the throne. But Babylon itself wasn't supposed to matter. When Hammurabi was born, Babylon was a small, relatively unimportant city-state. Mesopotamia at the time was divided into dozens of these city-states. Uruk, Lagash, Larsa, Izin, Eshnuna, Mari, Ashur. They all fought, constantly, for water rights, for trade routes, for territory, for pride. Alliances formed and broke. Kings rose and fell. Cities were conquered and reconquered. It was chaos. And Babylon? It was just another player in a very crowded game. The inheritance. Hammurabi became king around 1792 BCE, when he was about 18 years old. His father, Sin-Muballit, had been a competent but unremarkable ruler. He'd kept Babylon independent, maintained its walls, kept the canals flowing. But he hadn't expanded. He hadn't dominated. He'd survived. Hammurabi inherited a weak kingdom surrounded by powerful enemies. To the south, Larsa, a major power controlling important trade routes. To the north, Eshnuna, controlling access to metal resources. To the east, Elam, a fierce mountain kingdom that raided regularly. To the west, Mari, wealthy and well-connected. And these were just the major threats. Dozens of smaller city-states also competed. Most historians thought Hammurabi would be conquered within years. They were spectacularly wrong. The early years. Strategy over strength. Hammurabi's genius wasn't military strength. Not at first. It was strategy. Patience. Diplomacy. He spent his first decade as king playing politics, making alliances, signing treaties, marrying his daughters and sisters to rival kings, sending gifts, making promises. He kept Babylon safe while he quietly built power. He focused on internal improvements, digging and maintaining canals, crucial for irrigation and trade, fortifying Babylon's walls, building temples, and earning priestly support, standardizing trade practices to attract merchants. He made Babylon prosperous, stable, attractive. While his enemies fought each other, Hammurabi grew stronger. The turning point. Around year 10 of his reign, Hammurabi made his first major move. He formed an alliance with Larsa, his powerful southern neighbor, to take down Elam. Elam had been raiding Mesopotamian cities for years. Everyone hated them, but they were strong. Together, Babylon and Larsa defeated Elam. They pushed them back into the mountains. They secured trade routes. They divided the spoils. Everyone celebrated. Then, Hammurabi turned on Larsa. The betrayal. This is where Hammurabi's ruthlessness shows. Larsa thought they had a long-term ally. They'd just fought a war together. They'd shared victory. But Hammurabi saw an opportunity. Lhasa was weakened from the war. Their army was depleted. Their resources stretched. Hammurabi struck. He invaded quickly. Lhasa, caught off guard, couldn't mount an effective defense. Within months, Lhasa was conquered. Hammurabi absorbed their territory, their wealth, their people, their trade routes. Suddenly, Babylon wasn't a minor city-state anymore. It was a regional power. The pattern. This betrayal wasn't a one-time thing. It was Hammurabi's strategy. Befriend, ally, cooperate, then conquer. Over the next 20 years, he repeated this pattern. Mari, he allied with them against Eshnunna, then conquered them. Eshnunna, he signed a treaty, then broke it and invaded. Assyria's southern territories, he negotiated trade agreements, then occupied them militarily. One by one, the city-states fell. Each conquest made Babylon stronger. Each victory funded the next war. The warrior king. Hammurabi wasn't just a politician. He was a military leader. He personally led campaigns. He was on the battlefield with his soldiers. Ancient texts describe him as strategic and bold. He used siege warfare, diplomacy, and psychological tactics. He didn't just defeat enemies. He destroyed their ability to resist. Cities that surrendered were treated relatively well. Their populations were integrated. Their economies absorbed. Cities that resisted were razed. Their walls torn down. Their leaders executed. Their populations enslaved. The message was clear. Submit or be destroyed. Most cities submitted. The empire. By the end of his reign, around 1750 BCE, Hammurabi controlled almost all of Mesopotamia, from the Persian Gulf in the south to Assyria in the north, from the Zagros Mountains in the east to the Syrian desert in the west. Thousands of square miles, millions of people. Babylon was no longer a city-state. It was an empire. And Hammurabi was no longer just a king. He was an emperor. The administration. But here's what made Hammurabi different from other conquerors. He didn't just conquer. He unified. He built infrastructure, canals connecting cities, allowing trade and irrigation, roads for military and commercial movement, fortifications to protect borders, granaries to store surplus food against famine. He standardized systems, weights and measures, so trade was consistent across the empire. Tax collection, centralized and efficient. Military organization, professional soldiers, not just local militias. He created a centralized government, appointed governors to oversee region, installed judges to handle legal disputes, employed scribes to record everything. This wasn't just conquest. This was state building. The code. And most famously, he created a single code of law. Around 1755 BCE, about halfway through his reign, Hammurabi had his laws carved into stone. The stele, that massive black basalt monument, was placed in a public square in Babylon. 282 laws, covering everything you experience today. Property disputes, theft, assault, murder, adultery, divorce, narrate, inheritance, wages, rent, trade, due, medical malpractice, construction standards, agricultural practices. The famous phrase "an eye for an eye" comes from this code. Law 196. But the code wasn't just about punishment. It was about fairness, or, at least, fairness as Babylonians understood it. Different classes had different protections, yes, but everyone knew the rules. For the first time in history, law was public. Anyone could read it. If literate, written, permanent, unchangeable, comprehensive, covering almost every aspect of life. This was revolutionary. Before Hammurabi, law was oral tradition. It varied by region. It depended on who was judging. After Hammurabi, law was fixed, standardized, universal, within the empire. The prologue. The Code of Hammurabi begins with a prologue. Hammurabi's own words. When the lofty Anunnaki and Enlil, Lord of heaven and earth, the determiner of the destinies of the land, determined for Marduk, the firstborn of Ea, the Enlil functions over all mankind, made him great among the Agigi, called Babylon by its exalted name, made it supreme in the world, established for him in its midst This isn't just legal text. It's propaganda. Hammurabi is claiming divine mandate. The gods chose him. He rules by their will. And his purpose. Justice. Protecting the weak from the strong. Whether he actually believed this or it was just good PR, we don't know. But it worked. The peak. At his height, around 1755 BCE, Hammurabi was the most powerful man in the known world. Babylon was the center of trade, goods from India, Afghanistan, Arabia, Anatolia, Egypt flowed through Babylonian markets. Culture, scholars, artists, poets, musicians gathered in Babylon. Religion. The Temple of Marduk was the most important religious site in Mesopotamia. Law. The code influenced every city in the empire. The city itself was magnificent. Massive walls, some sections 80 feet tall, thick enough that chariots could drive on top. The Ishtar Gate, decorated with glazed blue bricks, golden bulls, and dragon. Ziggurats, rising like artificial mountain. Markets overflowing with goods from across the world. Palaces with hundreds of rooms. This was civilization at its peak. This was what human beings could accomplish when organized, directed, and motivated. The man behind the empire. Who was Hammurabi as a person? We don't know much about his personality. Ancient texts don't focus on internal emotion, but we know he was strategic. He planned decades ahead. Every move was calculated, ruthless. He betrayed allies without hesitation when it served his goal. Charismatic, he inspired loyalty. Soldiers followed him. Priests supported him. People believed in him. Hardworking. He personally oversaw administration. He read reports. He made decisions. He didn't delegate everything. Religious, or at least appeared to be. He sponsored temples, made offerings, consulted priests. Whether he truly believed or was just politically savvy, we can't know. He was married. He had children. But we know almost nothing about his family life. His personal relationships are lost to history. What remains is his legacy. The fall. Hammurabi died around 1750 BCE Dortu. He was in his 60s, exceptionally old for the time. He'd ruled for 42 years, an incredibly long reign, and almost immediately his empire began to crumble. His son, Samsu-iluna, inherited the throne. He was competent. He tried, but he couldn't hold it together. Rebellions erupted. Southern cities declared independence. Northern territories broke away. Rival kingdoms invaded. The empire that Hammurabi spent 40 years building fell apart in less than 20. Why it fell? Several reasons. Personal loyalty. Many of Hammurabi's conquered cities were loyal to him personally, not to Babylon. When he died, that loyalty died with him. Overextension. The empire was too big. Communications were slow. It took weeks for messages to travel from one end to the other. Rebellions could gain momentum before the central government even knew they existed. External pressure. New powers emerged. The Kassites from the mountains. The Hittites from Anatolia. They saw Babylon's weakness and struck. Internal divisions. The empire was ethnically and culturally diverse. Sumerians, Akkadians, Amorites, and others had different languages, customs, and loyalties. Hammurabi's code held them together. After him, divisions resurfaced. Within 150 years, Babylon was weak again. The Kassites conquered it around 1595 BCE. The empire was gone. The legacy, but Hammurabi's code survived. Copies were made. It was studied, referenced, adapted. It influenced Persian law. Cyrus the Great's law code borrowed concepts from Hammurabi. Greek law. Solon's reforms in Athens show similarities. Roman law. The 12 tables echo Hammurabi's structure. Modern law. The idea that laws should be written, public, and apply equally within societal structures is universal now. We take it for granted. But someone had to invent it. Hammurabi did. The concept of an eye for an eye is still referenced 3,800 years later. The idea of proportional justice, punishment matching the crime, is foundational to modern legal systems. Hammurabi didn't just rule an empire. He shaped how humans think about justice. That's a legacy that outlasted his empire by millennia. The irony. Here's the irony. Hammurabi is remembered for his law code, not his conquest. He conquered dozens of cities. He built an empire. He was a warrior king. But that's not what history remembers. History remembers the stone stele, the 282 laws, the words carved in basalt. Conquest fades. Empires fall. Borders change. But ideas last forever. Ortron. You lived through heat, filth, rules, gods, chaos, fear, and survival. You woke up on a bug-infested mat in suffocating heat. You drank warm, chunky beer through a straw because the water would kill you. You used the bathroom in public, or in a pot shared by your entire household. You navigated a marketplace designed to overwhelm every sense you have. You ate stale bread that could break your teeth, raw onions that burned your mouth, and fish that tasted like the sewage-filled river it came from. You sweated through temperatures that would hospitalize most people today. You watched a man drown as divine judgment, while a crowd of citizens nodded in approval. You bowed to priests who held more power than armies. You found brief, precious peace in a garden built by slaves for a homesick queen. You survived the night, walking through darkness, dodging thieves and drunks and corrupt guards. And you collapsed on that same bug-infested mat, too exhausted to care about comfort, too depleted to do anything but exist until morning. The truth about the past. Ancient Babylon was a masterpiece of human achievement. Law. The Code of Hammurabi shaped justice for millennia. Architecture, ziggurats, hanging gardens, massive walls that stood for centuries. Trade, a network connecting 3 continents. Astronomy, mathematical and astronomical knowledge that influenced science for thousands of years. Literature, the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of humanity's oldest stories. Urban planning, a city of perhaps 200,000 people, organized and functioning. But it was also a nightmare. Brutal. Punishments were public, physical, and designed to inspire terror. Filthy. Sewage in the streets. Contaminated water. Universal parasites. Dangerous. Heat stroke, disease, violence, arbitrary justice. Unforgiving. One mistake could cost you your hand, your freedom, or your life. The perspective shift. The past wasn't romantic. It wasn't simple or peaceful or noble. It was survival. Every day, every moment. No safety nets. No second chances. No emergency services. If you got sick, you either recovered or died. If you offended someone powerful, you were punished. If you couldn't pay your debts, you became a slave. If you were born poor, you stayed poor. There was no social mobility, no opportunity for reinvention. Your birth determined your life, the people who lived it, and the people who lived through it, your ancestors, stretching back thousands of years, were tougher than you can imagine. They endured heat that would hospitalize you. They drank water or beer that would give you dysentery. They worked from sunrise to sunset with minimal food and no breaks. They watched children die from diseases we can cure with a single pill. They lived with constant physical pain, toothaches, infections, injuries, with no relief. And they kept going. They built cities, raised families, created art, wrote poetry, studied the stars. They weren't superhuman. They were just adapted. Their bodies were conditioned. Their expectations were different. Their baseline for suffering was so much higher. What would destroy you was just Tuesday for them. Final thought. You made it through one day. 24 hours in ancient Babylon. Most modern people, with our soft hands, climate-controlled homes, and unlimited clean water, wouldn't last 3 hours. The heat alone would break us. Add the filth, the food, the fear, the rules, the dangers. We wouldn't make it to lunch. But you did. You survived. You experienced a world that no longer exists. A world of gods and kings and laws carved in stone. A world where the sun was an enemy and water was a gamble, and every interaction could be your last. You walked the same streets Hammurabi walked. You drank from the same river. You prayed to the same gods. You lived for one day in one of humanity's first great civilizations. And now you know it was magnificent. And it was hell. Sleep well. You earned it.